Today, we're going to be talking Highguard. Whoa, welcome in everybody to the Tower Report. My name is Roger, and it has been so long since I made a new episode of this. I am here today to talk about a big game called Highguard that just released last week. Everybody in the world has talked about it. And I just want to talk about it a little bit myself. And that's what this is. The Tower Report. Welcome in. If this is your first episode, good news, the format's changed. I used to talk about like 8 or 9 news items, but I more just want to focus on what I want to talk about. Whether it's one thing or a few things, or I review a game here. That's what this is now, and I am so happy to see y'all here. Today we're talking about Highguard, and Highguard is a success at first, but maybe now it's failing. We can't really know if it's a failure or not yet. You know what I mean? So here we are. 1 week later, a little over a week later, the game is now at, and I hate doing this, Steam concurrent players right now is 5,335 with a 24-hour peak of 6,737. Now, of course, that's only Steam. This is a crossplay game that is available on Xbox and PlayStation. We don't know those numbers. We can imagine that it might have about the same. So let's say we have about the same on those 15,000 people playing it. But possibly even more. There might be more on PlayStation and Xbox. We don't know. There might be less. Honestly, I would bet on less. But yeah, a week ago on Monday, Highguard had a fantastic showcase, in my opinion. It had a fantastic showcase showing off the game, showing off its uniqueness and like what it is. I'll be honest, I could go back and look at my stream that I did reacting to it live. And the more I saw, the more excited I was. I am not exactly a first-person shooter person. The ones that I've played, have been Apex Legends. I was a huge fan of its first few years. I played a lot. Warzone, I did play a good bit in the pandemic, like everybody else. But other than those, it's been off and on. I've played Valorant some. I've had my bouts where I get really into Valorant. But third-person shooters are usually the way I prefer to play. That's why I look at something like Marathon, which interests me, but doesn't interest me at a $40 price point. Highguard is a nice entry point of a free-to-play game that is unique. It's very unique, right? It's let's pull it up here on this website, an all-new PvP raid shooter. It's a first of its kind. So Highguard is a PvP raid shooter where players will ride, fight, and will ride, fight, and raid as wardens, arcane gunslingers sent to fight for control of a mythical continent. Fantastic, cool lore. I love the wardens are very interesting, and their powers are so unique and different that I was very intrigued. I don't think I've played as every warden yet. I think there were a couple I didn't touch, but that's because there were a few that I really latched onto. Um, the game is very interesting. First off, let's talk about the game, because I think that's the most important thing to talk about. Is the game good? Yes, I think it is. Even in its 3v3 state that it originally came out in, I thought that was solid. But I also thought that it needed more players for the amount of area that it covered on the map. And of course, it had they must have had a feeling that players and people would feel this way. What I imagine, based on how quickly they were able to get this 5v5 mode out last Friday for a limited time that has now become a permanent mode, that in playtests it was either a 3v3 or a 5v5. And some players might have preferred, most players probably preferred the 3v3. And I get why they're going for that, right? I understand why they have the 3v3 on such a large map. So before we do that, before I get back to that, I am bouncing around a lot. I do apologize. Let's start with how the game is played. You first start off kind of Rainbow Six Siege. You get 5 reinforcements. You put them on walls in your chosen place that you lock down. What is your base? That's the word I'm thinking of, your base. In your base, you have 3 different spots that they can plant a bomb at. 2 of them to damage your base for 30, and 1 that can just straight up kill your base outright. So that's what you do for the first minute, and then you get released into this map, this gigantic map, for 2 minutes to loot. So you go out, and the map is made so big so that when it's 3v3, you feel the space of the map, and you're able to ride around on your mount, and you're able to get the loot, but not run into the other team. And you're able to feel this, like, this is what I mean. When it comes to 3v3, they want you to feel like you're in a large fantasy RPG, I think, is what they're going for. That you're in like a Skyrim. They want you to feel that in this map, or even like in Avowed or something along those lines. That's what I think they're going for, because of the way that they talked about it in their showcase. They talked about it being an open world. Here is what our maps look like. And when I hear that, it makes me feel like, okay, this is where you want us to get out, feel the vastness of this world, of the lore and the maps, and you want us to feel that freedom. And I get that. I get why they wanted to do that, and I get why they had it 3v3. The issue is, when it comes to that part, it is at the end of the day a competitive shooter. But after that, you would then go into, I think it's a minute of like, all right, the shield breaker's coming in. Head to where the shield breaker's at. You got 1 minute. You're heading to the shield breaker. You're basically prepping to fight the other team. It gets a little crazy, and somebody gets the shield breaker, and then honestly, it's probably one of my favorite parts of it. It's a fun, intense capture the flag where everybody's on their mounts. They're trying to get to the other base, put the sword in there, break the shield down so they can start the raid. But it's so crazy, and you get killed, you spawn back at your base, you're riding in on a horse back to catch the person. You can see from the sky where the shield breaker is, and you head to them, and it's in my opinion, it is the best part of that first half. The raid part that comes right after is very fun, but that chase and the intensity and fun that it is of like, I'm running them down while I'm riding on this horse and I'm shooting the guys off of their horses, and I'm trying to steal the shield breaker and make it across the map to their base. Can I do it? I don't know, but that's that's honestly the most fun. And then if time runs out, it comes down to like a no respawn moment, and can you clutch up? Maybe. And that's when it begins to shine. I think where the game struggles is that first half of their matches, or the first not of their matches, of their rounds, because much like a Valorant and stuff, it kind of plays in rounds. Um, if unless you kill their base in one go, which is possible, but it it really is like you break it down. The first couple minutes are so slow. They can feel so slow and very tough. Especially when you're in 3v3. Now, last night I was able to finally hop into the 5v5. I really didn't feel it over the weekend. And I also wasn't home over the weekend, so I wasn't able to hop into the 5v5 till last night. And I will say, it feels far more like the competitive game that they would want. It feels properly spaced out, and it should have been what it was. I think even like 4v4 would have been good. But 5v5, it feels like where it should have been from the start. I get the 3v3, and I also understand from a player base perspective, the 3v3 is the best idea, because it's much easier to fill a lobby of 6 players than it is to fill a lobby of 10. It might not seem that way when you look at it from 6 to 10. That's only a 4-player difference, but it is a lot easier. And it is a lot easier for somebody to be like, hey, do I have 2 friends who want to hop on Highguard with me and play? Because that's the other thing. Last night, even though I did have fun, the majority of the time where I've played in a solo experience where it's nobody communicating really, it's a struggle. It's not great. The solo experience isn't the best. It does have a fantastic ping system because it is the people who worked on Apex Legends originally. So they have that system in. But yeah, it's very interesting. I think it's a good game. Now, that's also another issue here, is that this game had such a large showcase of being at the end of the Game Award and being radio silent on it for a month. I remember going into last Monday. The reason why I was like, this is what I'm going to do on Monday's stream. I'm just going to watch the showcase. I'm going to play this. And I could feel it going into it, despite the internet being like, it's going to crash and burn. It's going to be a huge bomb. It had that feeling of, yeah, but this could be something, right? like this could hit. And I do wonder if it even would have hit that 98,000 people on launch day that it did, if it did just shadow drop like you originally planned to. but yeah, let's quickly go through the game here. So when you're going in, it's very interesting how the maps work out as well. I do want to just talk about a little bit more of this. Their plans for the first year are very intriguing, and I'm very intrigued to see how it goes about when next Monday comes. Next Monday is the next episode of the game. So they had their first 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later is their next map. Warden, mounts and everything are coming next week. All of the core content is completely free for players. Now, is that going to bring people back is the question. Are people going to give another chance? That could be the smart thing here with how they're doing this is they launch it. People are like, we don't know. But they're a small independent studio, smaller independent studio working on this game. They can get to supporting it and updating it quicker than like a larger one can, weirdly enough. And people might come back next Monday when it's that 5v5 and try it back out again. I know I'll be definitely streaming it next week with that new update. I want to see the new warden. I want to see the new map. And I'll be honest, I do enjoy this game. I think it's fun. I think it's a very well-made game, and I think it has the chance to be great. Will it get the opportunity to get there? I don't know. But it's very intriguing. It's on a 2-month cycle for the next year, right? So we have this 2 weeks, and then, well, after 1 month, you have the part 2 of the season. Next month, it's very much like how Marvel Rivals is doing it. It looks like they took the consistency of updates that like Marvel Rivals does, where they constantly have something going to keep those players invested in Marvel Rivals. The issue is that it doesn't have that Marvel Rivals IP to keep them constantly invested. Now, for me, a fantasy world, a like high fantasy world, I get invested in, and that's why I'm so intrigued, and why I do like this game. I love the concept of a fantasy shooter. You don't get that ever. The only other time I can think of it recently was a single player game called Immortals of Avon, which I think is incredibly underrated, and I will forever be hurt that it was a bomb. But that's also completely different. That's a single player game that's all about like magic wizards. This is magical first person multiplayer shooter. We do have a bunch of cool wardens here. Let's go over some of them. So we have Redmayne, who, when you look at the website and probably when you hop into the game, he's like the first one you would pick. He's very easy. He's the go-to one, in my opinion, where he's get in there, nonstop attack. And then for me, that was kind of where I went. I didn't actually go there first. I went with Una first, who Una has these little forest wisps who can throw concussion grenades, and they can also like bring Una loot at random points in time, and then she can summon a giant forest spirit. Honestly, that's the thing. The character design for them, for all of these characters, are incredibly creative and different. And do some of them feel reminiscent of stuff like Apex Legends? Somewhat. Kai, who is raised in the monastery of the frozen wetlands mountain. Kai is a unique ice welder who controls and embraces the power of a frost beast demon that lives inside of him. for me, when I looked at Kai at first, I thought of kind of that first Thor movie and with Loki, when Loki learns that he could be like a frost giant and stuff. That that's where I thought of with Kai. I was like, ooh, this is like an interesting take on a frost giant. Scarlet is the one. Once a princess from the desert kingdom of Essence, Scarlet left her throne behind to become a warden for the Iron Vigil. She wields the shifting sands from the ancient homeland of her people to enhance her agility, stealth, and aim. Known far and wide for her devotion to protect and fight for those who can't fight for themselves, Scarlet became a warden of the people. She takes only the jobs or missions that serve to protect those in need. Short, she is loved, praised, and celebrated, which made her choice to leave the realm, embark to Highguard in search of her lost mentor, a heartbreaking but necessary one. They all have these crazy lore. That's awesome. Gondor's one I didn't get to play. She seems more like a sniper type. She has a big vulture bird. With her. I liked her. I didn't get to play Slade. Slade looks like a straight up like a ripoff of a Street Fighter character. But he has fiery powers. I don't mean that as like a slight, but when I saw him, I was like, this guy from Tekken? What's going on with him? Mara, I think I didn't play as Mara, but I played with a Mara. Mara is really cool. She's like a witch demon who, at one point, when we were protecting our base, we were pretty much down and out. We had no more spawns left. Or it might have been when we were tagging base. I can't remember. We were out of spawns, and she has an ultimate where she creates a spawn point for our team. So then we were able to respawn. And it was like, oh, well, this is a very interesting and cool thing to bring in. Atticus, I tried one with him. How do I put this? Atticus is very much not great. He's the basic character in my opinion. And then Redmayne is the basic character who is more fun to play. He has a pounce where he can break down the walls. It's so satisfying playing as Redmayne and going in and breaking down an entire base's walls with like your ultimate or with your pounce. It's very fun. I'm interested to see what their next warden is Monday. That's the thing. Despite me coming off that first day on launch, I said, I'm going to delete this and I'm not going to play it again. And then I sat with it and I was like, I did really enjoy those first couple games. And then you get to the point where, all right, now I'm in sweaty lobbies and people are just beating my ass into the ground. And I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. That's the issue, especially with a competitive first-person shooter, is that you get people who are good at these games. And I'm not. I'm not the best at them. I'll be honest. And I know that. But I went back on Tuesday night of that week on stream and I played it for a couple rounds at the end of the stream and I really enjoyed it. I had teammates who communicated and I had this feeling. I was like, man, maybe this game does have it. I don't know if it has what it takes to survive past the year. My hope, though, is that next Monday is like a rejuvenation for it a bit. Even if it brings back like 5K people, 5 to 10K, get them back. Hopefully it stays online. Because that's the thing. I'm so sick of the same game over and over again. I want something new. And this team went and made something new. They gave us something that feels different, feels fun to play. And if they can over time craft it with what people want to like want it to be and want to play, I think this could be here for the long run. Now, is it could it be too late? Possibly. You only get one first impression. That's the worst part about this. You only get one first impression, and you had a big stage. Everybody was looking at you because you were on the biggest stage in gaming. Everybody was looking at you a month and a half later when you launched. And now a week and a half later, there's articles being like, how are they reacting when 95% of the player base is gone? They've Highguard's lost the majority of their player base. Are they going to survive? Simple answer is I don't know. Nobody knows. At this point, they're an independent studio. They're going by what they have made. They're going to keep releasing what they have made. It's not like Sony with Concord. People kept calling this Concord 2. No, Concord was left out to dry. It was a $40 game that came out and nobody bought it. Highguard had that install base. People have Highguard in their libraries. People will click on it and they will come back and try it again. Why? Because it's free. That's where Concord didn't have it. Concord couldn't get a second win because nobody's going to pay $40 to get that second win. I think Highguard has a chance. I hope it has a chance. I want to see this game survive because the shooting feels so good. The game loop feels good now. In a 5v5 atmosphere, it feels good. 3v3 is a struggle to enjoy. But yeah, I hope for the games industry at large, I hope Highguard survives. I hope Highguard has a bit of a comeback. And I hope that I can play it and I can enjoy it 6 months from now. Because I'll be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if 2 months from now it's not even there anymore. The way people talk about it. But we need to support this studio. We need to be there for this studio because they want to be there for us. They want to make a game that gamers can enjoy. It's so weird. It's such a weird game, right? Because it is mixing Apex Legends and Rust, kind of. And it's just so intriguing hearing them talk about it in that showcase, playing the game, seeing how it actually works and how it goes about, these wardens, the world. I want it to survive. Maybe I don't play it all that often. Maybe it's not a game that needs to be played in a rotation. Maybe it's one that you come back every once in a while to. But I want it to survive. Maybe it is your favorite game. Hey, if it is, that's great. I love that for you. But I think as a games industry, you need and you want Highguard to survive, mainly because it shows that you can take a chance on something and it can work. Especially because this does work. This game works. They took a chance and it does work. Did it have issues on launch day? Yes. Was it overwhelming negative because of those issues? Yes. Did they work hard to quickly fix those issues? Yes. But at that point, people gave up. So let's say 6 months down the line, I'll make another one of these, coming back talking about Highguard again. That's my hope, is that I can in 6 months say, 6 months later, this is where Highguard's at. Even at 3 months, let's do quarterly check-ins for the next year, because they're releasing so many updates. They have such a built out schedule. Every 3 months, we're going to do a tower report directly talking about where Highguard's at, as long as it's here. And I hope it is. I hope it is. And I hope you can give it another chance. But yeah, that's Highguard. I think it's a solid game. I think you guys should check it out. This is not an ad. This is just me being passionate about not really the game, but the idea of the game and what it means. What a game like Highguard means. And I think we need to be with it as much as we can. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys for listening to me talk about Highguard for 30 minutes. I'm going to be live over on twitch.tv/The Light Tower. And I'll be back next week with a new episode of The Tower Report, talking about something. We don't know yet. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. I'll be live playing Resident Evil 4, checking out a couple games, maybe even hopping into some Highguard. Who knows? Make sure to come over and check it out. And thank you again for spending a little bit of time in the tower, hearing me talk about video games. Next week, we're going to have a review or two up for a couple games. And hopefully, we can talk about some Mario Tennis in a couple weeks. Till then, I'll see you around. I'll see you in the tower. Thank you for hanging out. Goodbye.